Former Cuyahoga County Commissioner Jimmy Dimora sentenced. After years of investigations, dozens of raids, and plea deals, Jimmy Dimora is on his way to prison for his corruption conviction. We've been following this major story all day, and News Channel 5 broke it first on air this afternoon.
Today, we all learned, as Jimmy Dimora did, that he would be spending 28 years in prison and was ordered to pay $98,000 in restitution. We have live team coverage with Tracy Carlos covering reaction from authorities. Investigator Sarah Buttison describes the scene inside the courtroom, and we have perspective from News Channel 5 legal analyst Avery Friedman. But we start with Chief Investigator Ron Regan outside the federal courthouse in Akron.
Ron, can you bring us up to speed about Dimora's sentencing today?
Sure. Federal Judge Sarah Leoy found that Jimmy Dimora was, in fact, the leader of what she called a criminal conspiracy. A criminal conspiracy that began and included that lavish trip to Las Vegas that we reported on months and months ago. But what Dimora didn't know was that while he was in Las Vegas with his pals, the FBI were following every step of that trip, including a visit to what was the so-called bear pool, where Dimora was cavorting with his pals, all in exchange for steering county contracts. FBI agents followed all of that, but in addition to being with him every step of the way in Las Vegas, they also, as you'll recall, found evidence at his home, evidence that included expensive gifts, countertops, pools, pizza ovens, brickwork, all kinds of repairs and home improvements that were done, according to what the FBI said in testimony, was done in exchange for steering contracts. Now, Assistant U.S. Attorney Ann Rowland, who helped prosecute Dimora, said that this was not a day for celebration.
They have done this work largely behind the scenes, largely in the backgrounds. And if it was up to them, they'd probably like to keep it that way today. But their tireless work and their dedication stand as a shining beacon of public service. And it stands in sharp contrast to the behavior that this case has uncovered.
Well, that, in fact, was Assistant U.S. Attorney Antoinette Bacon, who was also a lead prosecutor in this case. And what Ms. Bacon was saying was essentially giving credit to the FBI, who devoted what she called 4 years of tireless service. To recap, Jimmy Dimora, 28 years in prison and $98,000 in restitution. I want to bring in Investigator Sarah Buttison, who was one of the few reporters who was actually inside of the courtroom itself. We were all allowed to have one reporter inside that courtroom. Sarah was there, and you have a very unique perspective on Dimora's reaction, Sarah.
Yes, it was very surprising given what we have seen from Jimmy Dimora during the court proceedings. He's been pretty calm most of the time. Just before the sentence was read today, you could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. Everybody was waiting with bated breath to hear what the sentence would be. Dimora seemed frustrated, angry, even surprised when he learned he would be spending 28 years in prison. He reacted by standing up as quickly as he can right now, given his health conditions. That caused the U.S. Marshal watching him to go for her gun. Dimora saw that, quickly sat back down and composed himself. During that time, many of his family members were shaking their heads no and crying tears. Dimora remained defiant after learning his sentence. As he left the courtroom today, he turned to prosecutors and said, "Good story." Then he paused, looked at those prosecutors again, and said, "I hope you're happy." But it was another moment that was the most emotional of the last 2 days of this sentencing hearing. As Dimora was leaving the courtroom today, he stopped and turned around and looked at the family members who have been there supporting him during this time and said, "See you guys. Don't know when." They looked at him and said, "We love you, Jim. We love you." Tonight at 6, we're going to have a little bit more about why Dimora is so defiant and what he's saying about the charges that he was convicted of. For now, we're going to toss it back to you guys on your side. I'm Investigator Sarah Buttison, News Channel 5.
Okay, Sarah and Ron, thank you very much. Jimmy Dimora was elected as Cuyahoga County Commissioner in 1998. The FBI's investigation into county corruption began in 2007, with the FBI conducting raids beginning in 2008. In 2009, Dimora stepped down as the chair of Cuyahoga County's Democratic Party. Dimora was convicted in March and then sentenced today.
Dimora's conviction and sentencing are a momentous moment for the agents and prosecutors who handled the case in an attempt to clean up local government. News Channel 5's Tracy Carlos continues our coverage tonight. And Tracy, what are the people who handled this case saying?
Well, Danita, they're saying that hard work has paid off. The FBI and the IRS are among the agencies who have worked on this case now for 4 years. And today, they too reacted to the judge sentencing Jimmy Dimora. The special agent in charge of the FBI Cleveland office says that this chapter in Cuyahoga County history has been unfortunate, but there are some reasons to be optimistic. For example, he says county workers can now report corruption allegations to the Inspector General's Office for Investigation, which is new and a direct result of this scandal. And he says that this case should send a very strong message.
It is our hope this case, as has been said, will give pause and serve as strong notice to any individual that would consider violating the public trust. We should have zero tolerance for this behavior and expect on this government.
And Stephen Anthony said that the ending was the result of a lot of tenacious work by a lot of people. Reporting live in Akron, Tracy Carlos, News Channel 5.
Okay, Tracy, thanks. Of course, the corruption probe led to the creation of the current Cuyahoga County government structure, which includes 11 council seats and a county executive. Ed Fitzgerald is the current county executive and the first in Cuyahoga County. We sat down with him after Dimora's sentence was handed down today.
It's a harsh sentence, it's a tough sentence, but there was some very outrageous conduct, and I think that's reflected in the verdict.
Fitzgerald also says that everyone in Cuyahoga County is a victim of the corruption because they're still living with decisions made by Dimora and Auditor Frank Russo.